Breaking news on CBS Sports HQ. The NCAA has ruled on James Wiseman. He'll be suspended 12 games. He's already served one of those games, so only 11 more to go for James Wiseman, who might be the #1 pick in the NBA draft. He's the top freshman in the country for the Memphis Tigers. James Wiseman, the #1 recruit out of Nashville, Tennessee. Huge get for Penny Hardaway. He can return January the 12th against South Florida. He's going to miss a big game at Tennessee. He's going to miss a game against Georgia, but he'll be back for pretty much all of AAC conference play. Let's bring in Matt Norlander, who covers college basketball for us and does it oh so well for CBSSports.com. Matt, what more can you tell us about this ruling?
Well, I had heard earlier today that the expectation this was going to be coming down today, and sure enough, we get close to the dinner hour, and here it is. There's so many places we can go here, Chris, with this. First and foremost, the NCAA wins. It wins big here. Memphis fought this initially. It played James Wiseman and went to a court to get a restraining order to allow him to play. It was defiant at the outset. And now we see the NCAA said you're going to be tacked 3 games of suspension for doing that, and he's going to sit the 9. See, if you're wondering why it's this amount of games, the NCAA has an agreed upon set of circumstances, a sliding scale for if you get a certain amount of money. If there's a money amount, it's a sliding scale to how many games you will have to miss. Similar in some respects to what happened with Chase Young at Ohio State. For James Wiseman, $11,500 was given to his family, apparently without Wiseman knowing, by Penny Hardaway before he was the Memphis coach, and that equates to a 30% of a season, which is 9 games on Memphis' schedule. That's why it is this length. Chris, this is still interesting to me in that I thought initially Memphis was going to be a precedent-setting program, and choosing to play Wiseman in spite of the NCAA recommending it not do that. But obviously, lawyers and administrators behind closed doors decided against that. They sat Wiseman in Memphis' most recent game, and now he's going to serve this punishment, which will come at much public criticism of the NCAA because you cannot avoid these facts. Penny Hardaway donated $1 million to help build a Memphis Hall of Fame in his name more than a decade ago, long before anyone knew James Wiseman would even play college basketball. And then James Wiseman was afforded $11,500 to move from one part of Tennessee to another part of Tennessee by Penny Hardaway. At that point, who is not the Memphis coach, but James Wiseman is a recruitable athlete, and at that point, he is someone clearly on Memphis's radar. But the thing I have an issue here with is Wiseman is going to sit, he's going to be punished. Penny Hardaway gets nothing. This is not a fair punishment here. Memphis as a program obviously is going to take a hit in real time with this season, but we can't say with 100% certainty that James Wiseman did or did not know that his family was afforded this kind of loan. But if he didn't, how is it fair to the kid that he is going to have to sit out 12 total games? His one and only season in college has been affected here. And if you're going to try and balance out how to punish schools and coaches in this instance, why isn't Penny Hardaway facing some sort of suspension as well? I just don't quite get that overall. But here we go. College basketball is robbed of some big stuff, as you mentioned. James Wiseman will not play against Tennessee. He will not play against Georgia, which has Anthony Edwards, the player that might be contending with Wiseman for the #1 pick in the 2020 NBA draft. It's just a bummer of a story. I understand the rules are the rules, and this is why it's come to this. But for those that would like to criticize the NCAA's judicial model over something like this, there's plenty of room to criticize because the circumstances around it were unique, truly. They were unusual. And to me, this is a bit too harsh of a punishment for a kid who, frankly, does not deserve to sit 12 games.
So, Matt, if I understand you correctly, suspended 3 extra games to get it to 12, from 9 to 12, because he played while ineligible. So had Memphis just gone along with what the NCAA ruled initially, this would have been a 9-game suspension?
You are absolutely correct on that, Chris. Had Memphis, remember, key detail that some might forget, the NCAA went to Memphis before it played its season opener and said James Wiseman, in our opinion, is not an eligible student athlete. You should sit him. Memphis chose not to sit him. Not only that, it exacerbated the issue on its second game of the season when literally, and this is one of the most Memphis things ever, James Wiseman was with his lawyers at a courthouse within walking distance of FedEx Forum getting a restraining order to allow him to play that very night. So that is 3 extra games he will have to sit. And if we really want to look big picture here, this will have weird implications on when we get to Selection Sunday because the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee is now going to have the bizarre task of evaluating Memphis without James Wiseman. If Memphis loses games and then Wiseman comes back as awesome and Memphis is a top 5 team, it's still going to get dinged in some respects for the games that didn't have Wiseman. So it will be a challenging evaluation process when we get to March, and who knows what kind of player Wiseman will be then, who knows what kind of team Memphis will be then. So yeah, there's a lot of different angles on the story. Oh, and by the way, and this, to me, this is kind of what makes the punishment in part farcical, or will be received as farcical. The NCAA says in its release that James Wiseman is going to have to donate the $11,500 that his family received back to a charity of his choice. Hello? He does not conceivably have that money right now. So what? He has to pay back that money in the future when he has it, after he's left being a college athlete, as part of the agreements to what's happened here. It goes at the heart of why a lot of people still criticize the amateurism model, and why that model in particular is under fire from politicians across the country. The very idea that James Wiseman has to pay back $11,500 that he doesn't have because his family needed it in the first place because he's a student athlete. This really has become one of the more surreal eligibility cases in the past decade in NCAA history here. The rules are the rules, and they're going by the book here. They are going by the book, but the spirit of the circumstances surrounding this, to me, all told, I don't have an issue with Wiseman getting suspended, but to me, Memphis lost big. It couldn't negotiate whatsoever. He's at 12 games, and Wiseman doesn't deserve that long of a suspension.
Okay, so the NCAA wins, Memphis loses, and college basketball fans lose. There's no question about that. Evan Daniels is going to join us in just a little bit. We thank Matt Norlander for his time and some great explanations as to what exactly has just transpired. James Wiseman suspended 12 games by the NCAA. He's already served one of those games, so 11 more. He won't be back on the court until January, when AAC play begins.